like after almost dinner time over there.
We are live. Did you notice how I did that? Just
Yeah.
Bring them in.
Come on, guys.
welcome to the Bradbury Challenge, the podcast where three writers attempt to write one short story each week. My name is Maya, and I am here with Chrissy Moss and Gerald Hornsby for the NaNoWriMo edition. Yeah. We didn't consider
really?
this month when we came up with this podcast, did we?
I did think about it.
Did you think it was stupid? Is that what you thought about it?
I thought the
No.
challenge itself was insane from the very beginning. So yeah.
Okay, so there we go. See you guys next week. Bye. No. Okay, how did you guys do this week?
I wrote some.
Not so much, yeah.
You had to write more than some. You're doing NaNoWriMo. You should be on what, 4,000? No, 5,000 or something.
I
right
should
now?
be on 5,000 words.
5,000 exactly?
I am not on 5,000 words.
Yeah, neither am I, but I'll get there today.
Yeah, yesterday was 5,000 words. Today is 66. So
Yeah.
I am currently at 2,300 because the first 2 days did not go well at all.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about that. How are you doing with your nano, Gerald?
I'm good. Ahead of the game, as you might know.
Mhm.
Of course.
Freaking overachiever.
Good overachiever.
Do you like your story so far?
I do so far, yes. I haven't prepared it that well. I normally prepare much better than this, but it was I don't know why. So I'm sort of I've written the first bit and that's I'm liking my characters. I'm liking my situation. So I just got to get into the meat of the story now. So yeah, liking it a lot.
Well, I did the stupidest thing. I decided to do short stories for Nano instead of a long work, and that was stupid. It's really hard. It is just really hard. I realized I spend a lot of time meditating on my short stories before I write them, and so this is not conducive to NaNoWriMo. I'm at 2,800 words. I will catch up today.
So you're ahead of me.
Yeah, the first story I'm writing is definitely longer than I expected, which kind of like put like a screeching halt on everything, but it's okay. And I restarted it. So rather than like erasing anything, I have like a dump folder that still counts for my word count. And I literally just took it, put it in the dump folder, and then wrote it from a different point of view. But I'm finding NaNoWriMo great for just experimenting because, I mean, it's so fast and I know everything I write is junk. And so I wrote it one way, and rather than trying to perfect it in advance, usually I would have meditated on it for weeks and tried to figure out the right approach, and then I would have written the story and I would have known where I was going with it. But instead I just wrote it, realized it wasn't working, wrote it from a different POV, and just kept it moving. It was really fun to do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm writing cozy mysteries because I've never written them before. And so I've got this group of people and they've got this first murder that's and I struggle for a time to try and get they're like amateur sleuths. So how do you get the amateur sleuths to investigate rather than the police and da da da? So I sorted all that out and I'm liking it actually. And it's good. I like to try and do something different for Nano, and it's sort of freer because I can be a bit snarky. I can be a bit political. It's like a tick list of minorities. There's an Asian guy. There's a Polish woman. There's somebody in a wheelchair. So it's very politically correct.
So since you both are doing long works, how has this affected your short stories for this week? Have you written anything on short stories this week? I know the week isn't over yet, but I'm just curious.
I did. I didn't complete it, but I wrote something.
Yeah. Are you already feeling like the Nano encroaching on your short story writing already?
No, last few days I've just been tired. And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
it's really difficult to write when you're tired.
That is the truth. I've been exhausted, and that definitely will put
Yeah.
the kibosh on things.
I think the only option I have tonight is to take some sleeping pills because I've not been able to go to sleep when I get home. And so that throws everything off because I sometimes have to get up in the morning and you have to go do things. And if I don't actually go to sleep until 5 a.m, you
wake up and your day's half over.
Yep.
Yeah.
How about you, Gerald?
Yeah, I think it's good because I still have my writing groups that happen, and they sort of force me to look at short stuff and flash fiction and things like that. So and pulls me out of nano. Otherwise, sort of nano takes over everything. So yeah, that helps me having the writing groups.
Nano really can take over everything. I've seen people get really unhealthy during November. And I think you're onto something. You know, having that ability to break it up a little bit is probably a little bit better for your emotional health.
Yeah.
So you guys want to talk to us about what your stories are about? Like, we know that Gerald is writing a cozy mystery with a bunch of amateur sleuths. It sounds a bit like Clue. Clue, the diversity edition.
That's funny.
Sorry, Gerald.
No, I don't know. I don't know this, whatever it is, Clue. So it's lost on me. Yeah, it's just that it's set in. It's quite nice because they're called the coffee shop mysteries because it's a group of people who meet in a coffee shop. But and at the moment they're just sort of meeting there to meet there. I need something to tie them together, some sort of common interest or something before they start sleuthing.
Ooh. I'm joking. I'm like, there's a whole like subgenre called knitting fiction, and usually they're like romance stories. Usually they're romance stories, but what if you had a bunch of knitters, like a bunch of nosy old women that are running around solving crimes? That would just be awesome.
I think it's called a knitting cozy. They actually did an interview with one of them on wasn't it Rocking Self Publishing?
Yeah, Rachel Herron does them. Rachel Herron,
first time I ever heard of it.
Published, and they're all like romances, so they're not like murder mysteries.
I bought one just because I was curious.
I've read them because I'm a knitter.
I think there's also a sort of subgenre that's based around cupcakes or baking or something like that as well.
One of the series that I write is like cupcakes, evil cupcakes and trinkets or something like that, and it's a witch that lives in a cupcake shop, and she makes cupcakes. Okay. She has a day job where she's working in a cupcake bakery. So
that's good.
I'm sure you'll find your reason for them to all appear in the coffee shop. Have you gotten to the murder part yet?
Yeah. I've got the body.
You have to do that in the first chapter, right?
Yeah.
Is the body in the coffee shop?
No. It's on the beach because the coffee shop is in a seaside town, not a million miles away from where I am now.
Ooh.
And it's all based around a real coffee shop. So description of the coffee shop are the real shop. So I sort of figured if I ever publish them and people buy them, they think, oh, this coffee shop exists. So maybe they'll go and say, yeah.
They'll sell it at the coffee shop. They'll have like murder tours from the coffee shop,
and so on and so on. You never know. So it's like that. But yeah, there's it's one of these things where you think about an issue with the writing, and then if you sort of think around it and work around it, then eventually you can solve it. Like, because I got the body on the beach, that's what it's called, body on the beach, and how what's the connection? How are they going to get involved? And because the body on the beach is a foreign worker, and the woman in the coffee shop knows her, so that at the moment I've got to, they just said, they said it's an accident, and she said no, it can't be an accident because she never goes on the beach, she doesn't swim, so how can it be an accident? So that's the intrigue and gets the people in, and saying so it's all, so I'm figuring it's all about sort of local knowledge, personal knowledge of the individual people, and that's why the police aren't interested, because it's a open and shut case, but then these people investigate afterwards. So yeah, it's good fun. It is good fun. Which is,
I can't imagine plotting a murder mystery. I would think that would be so difficult because you have to be able to surprise your readers.
Yeah.
And the problem is you read a bunch of them and you get to the point where you read the first chapter and you know who the murderer is. And so to be able to surprise them is just
wow. I like it. I like it. I mean, I'm not there yet, but I like it because there's a formula, and there's so many suspects, so many subplots, roughly, and I just think I can. And I've watched a few on the TV, that sort of thing. So you sort of get to know the red herrings and the people who look guilty but aren't, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's me liking it a lot at the moment.
How about you, Chrissy? What's your stuff about?
I'm writing the second book in my new series that I'm hoping to start putting out next year.
Okay.
So I've got the first book like 3/4 finished or something like that, and the last of it is I just have to finish the last few chapters. But so on the 31st of last month, I rewrote the entire plot of the second book because I had
wow.
I had to, because
been there, done that.
I had an original plot, but after writing the first novel, that original plot and writing some like little brief scenes and stuff for the second book, the chain there, it had totally changed.
Yeah.
So I had to rewrite that, and then now I'm writing it, and the plot was easier to write than the actual story.
That's funny. Yeah, I started off with my idea, and I told you guys I'm starting from the journal, and then I'm creating the story for the journal, and I think this story jumped the shark. I was writing it in third-person point of view. It was definitely fitting the tone that I wanted, but it just wasn't working, like, at all. It just was not working. And so I just abandoned ship, and I wrote it in first-person point of view, which I never do. I don't write in first person, but I wrote it in first person. And the saying that the line between tragedy and comedy, it's like really, really funny. A lot of comedies are actually tragedies. And there's so much comedy in it that I don't think it'll work for that journal now. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but I love the story. I just don't know where it's going to fit now. Being in first person just changed the tone so much. I don't know. I'm going to have to read the journal some more. It might still fit, but I don't know. It's definitely pushing the edge. So there's that.
Well, there's always submitting it and seeing if they like it.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to take a really logical business type approach to how I'm writing the stories with the eye towards getting published next year. Right. I need something to put on my query letters. I need a publishing credit. And so I'm trying to be really logical about it. Like the submission I wrote to Carve, I know their tone, I know what they're looking for, and I know that I can do that. And so I wrote a story that specifically it's like written for the editor. It's like, it's like it's my dead body that I'm sacrificing to the editor's gods. So, but this magazine, I like it, but I don't know if I know it well enough, and so I need to look around a little bit more and see, will it still fit, or do I need to find a new magazine for it? Because I'm not changing it back to third person. The third person story just wasn't working. And it's amazing how point of view can change an entire story. It changed the entire feel of the story.
Yep. Yeah, I started writing in first person for this new series, and I like it a lot more. But I don't know. I really enjoy first person because you can get in the head a little bit more. But at the same time, some days it doesn't want to work.
It does restrict you on what you can do and what you can expose to the reader, doesn't it? So it's
as a reader, I don't really have a preference. I don't read a lot of first person just because most literary fiction is in third person, but I have read first person that was wonderful, and so I don't have a particular preference one way or the other. For my own writing, I tend to lean towards third person. It just feels most natural to me. Yeah. But the story was not feeling natural. It was not flowing. I was struggling to sit down and write it. And the minute I switched to first person, it was just easy.
Yeah, I read a lot of urban fantasy, and most urban fantasy tends to be first person.
Yeah, definitely. So. How is it with mysteries? Are mysteries usually third person or first person?
Third, because you
need the clues and stuff.
You need the clues and stuff, and you need to sort of cut to different scenes and things like that. So, and it can be a little bit boring in first person because you're always in the head of the sort of lead investigator person. So
Miss Marple.
Yeah, Miss Marple. Yeah. So unless you jump to other first person points of view.
I used to watch Miss Marples. I used to watch Murder, She Wrote. All those shows as a kid.
Yeah, it's coming back apparently. Now I've got a great book which is called Guide to Writing the Mystery Novel, which is really good. It's got all the sort of, you can't see this, but it's got stuff, all the sort of various things, conflict and rewriting, subplots, pacing, suspects, that sort of stuff, and how to weave them into the story. So that's helping me because it's something I've not written before, so I need to understand how to write it.
Have you had any struggles with it so far, being that slightly different genre?
Not so far. No, I might do because it's just characters at the moment and different character scenes and character. Is there anybody there? So I got. But I'm about 6,000 odd words in, and yeah, we need to start finding who
get the show is. On the road.
Get the show on the road. So I'll let you know next time how that's coming out.
Although, I mean, what was the name of Casual Vacancy? That was J.K. Rowling's non-J.K. Rowling book, and it started slow, but it was interesting. Yeah. I think it was because there was so much about the town and the people and the politics that I didn't care that there was no clues right off the bat, because it wasn't about that really.
That's what I'm kind of hoping that the sort of the first few scenes that I've written, introducing the various characters, and all the characters are sort of just teetering on the edge of cliche, so they're interesting and locations interesting. So
okay, I'm gonna reel you back from the cliches. Come on, I'm gonna rescue you. Pull them back.
Character.
It is really hard to avoid those cliches, isn't it? Oh my goodness, sometimes I just go through my manuscript looking specifically for cliches.
Yeah,
I like to write to the cliches sometimes because cliches are cliches for a reason.
Yeah,
if you have
overused.
Well, depends on how you look at it though, because if you're writing like urban fantasy, then you want those tropes in there. You want those recognizable features that are the reason people read that genre.
But those are tropes. Fiction, those aren't necessarily cliches.
Yeah.
I see the difference. Like, I think of cliches as something that's been overdone so much it's lost its power, versus a trope being something.
That's my fire alarm.
Do you need to escape?
Wow. That's different.
It's the first episode after NaNoWriMo. It just seems fitting.
Without the live video, there could be flames behind her. Yeah, I know. This could be.
Why did she turn the camera off? I want to see if I have small cops.
There could be
That's
burly
going to be going off.
firefighters.
The whole building just went off. The fire alarm's going to be going off
Oh
until
my
the
God, you've got to be kidding me. Did
No,
somebody in your building burn toast?
probably. Usually it's either toast or, somebody sets off one of those little incense things or smokes too close to the fire alarm. So,
well, I guess that's the show for today, because if this is going to go on for a long time, there's just no way.
I have to drop out, though. But you guys
Okay,
can go.
bye, Chrissy. Me and Gerald will finish
Chrissy.
the episode, I guess.
Sorry.
Oh, that stinks.
Oh,
okay, looks like it's just you and me, kid.
Yay.
That was horrific.
Wow, very loud, wasn't it?
Poor Christy, that was really loud.
Oh,
what was I saying? Oh, I was going to say that I see the difference between a trope and a cliche, as a cliche is something that's overdone so much it's lost its power, whereas a trope is something that's done a lot because it has power, because the readers want it. So I think that is the dividing line for me.
I think so, and I mean, if you look at sort of one of my genres, crime fiction, you have the troubled investigator, and a lot of the time it's they have problems with drink and they drink too much, and they have a troubled past with failed relationships and that sort of stuff. And I think it starts as a trope. I mean, it started as a trope way back in sort of Chandler's day, but now it's become overdone, and every time you see it, you think, it's so if I write crime, yes, I want a character that's interesting, that's got flaws, but not that they turn to drink and
you're not going to have a drunk guy with OCD who never showers and has like 3 ex-wives. No.
I've got a gay woman in one set of stories in a stable relationship, and
a lesbian in a stable relationship. You are definitely going against the cliche there.
Yeah, that changed.
Thank you. It is nice to see that in fiction, lesbians can have decent relationships and not end up dead. Please tell me she's not the one that ends up dead.
No.
Okay, then we're all good.
No, I think it's you've got to connect with the readers, haven't you? So you've got to find a character that they're not going to go, oh, one of these again, but is interesting, and they can say, oh, okay, that's different.
Okay, well, today seems to be kind of slow. I think we're all a little bit sleepy. So, Gerald, would you like to read something for us?
Oh.
Are you going to read your part of your mystery?
No.
Did you write a short story this week? I don't think I actually asked you that.
No, you didn't. I did write something, and I don't know where it's going, and I don't know what it is. But
so it's like a partial. It's not finished.
Yeah, it's something. It's from a physical prompt of a postage stamp.
Okay.
And this thing came into my head, so I wrote this.
Sounds interesting.
The rattle from the letterbox, sharp and clear, followed by a gentle sigh. A single envelope dropped onto the flowered carpet. Tom stirred in his chair, the quiet sounds waking him from his fitful doze. The walker waited as ever by the side of the chair, but he reached instead for his walking stick. Bought for him by someone he couldn't remember, it had been his close companion for more years than he could count. He stood in front of the door, looking at the back of the envelope lying on the floor. That's a bit bad. White, blank, no return address. He used the rubber tip of his walking stick, supporting himself on the wall, and flicked at the envelope. His name and address were handwritten in black ink. It could have been from anyone, containing anything, but for the postage stamp in the corner. Lined perfectly, equidistant on both sides, a deep rose colour, as it always had been. A number, the cost of postage in a foreign currency, always the same. He held his stick firmly, but shaking slightly, and gave the envelope another practised flick. It joined the others at the side of the hallway, a small haphazard pile of unread communication. He didn't need to read that, not anymore. He turned, heading for the kitchen and the unopened bottle in the cupboard. Now, who knows what that's about, but
it'll be about something, because I have faith in you. As a reader, I feel like you'll figure it out. You know? you read some authors, like what happens with Literary Roadhouse. There are some people you read and you're just like, I don't trust you. And then there's some people you read and you're like, okay, I'll give you a little bit more rope. Let's see if you hang yourself with this. HP Lovecraft. No, okay. Okay.
Have you got anything?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you're going to do with that. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I just sort of thinking about it before we came on air, and I thought it might be, it's going to be a letter from someone he doesn't want to hear from. So I'm thinking of an offspring, a child that's moved away, and he doesn't, he's not interested in what they say, and maybe they come to visit him or something. I don't know, something like that. One of these things where he changes, so his attitude is very dismissive and very antagonistic, but when they come to see him, then he will see that they're genuine and they're concerned, and they care for him, and then he realizes that, and everyone lives happily ever after, maybe.
My story still doesn't have a title, which never happens, because you know me, like a lot of times I can't even get started writing until I have a title. Like for me, the title kind of defines the box and the theme for me. So if I don't have a title, I'm kind of like floundering all over the place, which is, I think, part of the problem, like a fish. So yeah, that's what happens. I'm glad our listeners couldn't see that. So it doesn't have a title. I'm hoping I can finish it today, but it's definitely one of the longest short stories that I'm gonna end up writing. Like I think my longest short story that I've written is like just over 5,000 or just under 5,000, and this is gonna be pushing 7, just based on what's happened in scene 1 and how long it is. It's pushing it. Wow. So here we go. It wasn't that I was lacking prospects when I bought Malachi. Successful, still attractive, and no kids. Hell, on paper, I'm a fucking catch with a high net worth and a non-clingy nature. But life isn't lived on paper. Dropped off in grad school as they snapped up the lighter sisters. I'm liberal, but it took a few years for me to stop brushing off the white guys. What other options are there? I told Mama. She just shook her head and said, at least your father isn't alive. My life will not be put on hold because of your... My life will not be put on hold because success is color struck, I said, and we didn't talk for a year. The startup filled the gaps between business, friends, and the gym. It was all good. But sometimes I miss having, it isn't the sex. Not that the sex wasn't good. I mean, I'm liberal, but I'm not a freak. Well, I guess anyone that buys a sex doll has to be a little freak, but I think I was more lonely than freak, I think. Truth is, I'd never heard of such a thing until I ended up on that part of YouTube. Not the part with the golf ball size pimple popping or the exotic disorders or the people that with serial baby killers. No, I'm sitting there just clicking on strange documentaries, doing dishes, and bam, just like that, some blonde journalist is interviewing some middle-aged rocker lookalike about doll design and then writing a hunk of silicone. It was all pretty ludicrous, but at the end, she was talking and half drunk, and then I saw it. She was talking to the camera, and her hand was caressing this dummy, this mannequin, this fake man's hand, and I remembered what that felt like, and the contentment on her face. Now that was real. Don't get it twisted. I didn't jump on the website and buy a doll that night. I ain't crazy. But all night I kept thinking about that documentary. I must have watched it 30 times, and then I showed it to the girls, and we all had a good laugh over lunch. It wouldn't leave me alone, though. I'd be in a meeting with some venture capitalist, and I'd start staring at his hands, thinking about that damn dummy. My CFO, Sarah, said I was getting moody and just needed to get out, so she dragged all us girls into some loud and drunk ring of hell in the city. It took at least a half dozen excuses before I could extricate my ass. When I finally looked at the site, I knew it was going to be bogus. I had to know for sure, though, so I'm staring at this website that looks like it was designed in '98, and there are a dozen different versions of women, but only 3 guy dolls. I guess that makes sense, but you'd think gay guys would want a little more variety. So I told myself, if there aren't any black dolls, forget the whole thing. I mean, I'm surrounded by white guys. Most of my programmers and all of my dates in the last decade were white dudes. So if I'm going to buy a man, I'll be damned if I'm not buying the darkest, dreamiest fucker I can imagine. But luck was not in my favor, and Malachi's head was the prettiest one on the site. He had a jaw that was cut from, well, marble, and these huge eyes that seemed to follow you. If Michelangelo had sculpted a Dominic instead of a David, this would have been him. I'm staring at this man's huge lips and thinking, that's a doll? Looked as real as me sitting right here. So where do you start when you're on some site looking at an unending combination of features and whistles you can add to your own personal dream man? You start with the dick. It ain't rocket science and you're not Goldilocks, but right down the middle seemed the safest bet. Not too big and not too small. I'll take uncircumcised because I'm feeling frisky.
That's fantastic. I love the lightness that you bring to it. It's really, but it's it's serious writing. There's serious writing in there, but the sort of first person works well, I think. And
yeah, it works so much better than my third person point of view. My third person point of view was horrible.
Yeah.
It was just so bad.
And it is a very personal, it's a single character view on something. So yeah, I think it deserves to be first person.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it being first person. I originally was going to read just a little bit and show you the difference between third person and first person, but I'm too embarrassed. That third person POV was so bad. I think it was the worst writing I've written in several years. It just didn't work. And I think you hit the nail on the head that it's such a personal story and it's going to end in tragedy, and it needs some comedy in order to offset that. But also, that kind of topic is going to turn off readers, and by making it first person, it makes her a little more human.
I think you show her sort of ambivalence a little bit towards it, and looking at it and not looking at it, and watching the video 30 times and being a bit obsessed by it, and it's sort of dragging her in like that.
Just reel her in slowly. But there's something about this woman's voice, man. I like her.
Yeah.
I like her. At one point, she's talking about, because she's like a CEO in like some Silicon Valley, but she's on all the magazines because she's like, Ghetto to Riches, the Black Unicorn, Black Beauty of the Valley. It's just like, come on, people, leave her alone.
And I think your reading voice suits that voice too. It's just.
But now you see my problem, because that originally was aimed at Granta.
Nah.
I don't think it's gonna work. That's not going to work for Granta.
Not for Granta.
So now I'm not sure where I'm going to send it. I'm going to read some more Granta, and I'll see how it feels after the editing, because it definitely gets really dark, and like the ending is super dark. So I don't know what the tone's going to be like at the end, but I don't think it's going to fit there anymore.
Yeah, certainly what you've read just now doesn't fit. It's this part sort of fits in more mainstream women's magazines as sort of, well, perhaps slightly edgy, I don't know, sort of Marie Claire.
Yeah, something a little more mainstream.
Yeah, but if it gets dark, then
it gets real dark. She goes crazy, and she buys a second sex doll because the first sex doll is lonely and jealous, and then she has an affair with the second one, and it convinces her to kill the first one, and they die in a fire. It gets real dark real fast. It's like if you take, I don't know, Pygmalion, you add in a bit of, I don't know, Othello. Pygmalion and Othello walk into a bar and they buy a sex doll.
Wow, that's very good.
So we will see what happens, but I'm definitely having fun with it. So that was my adventure for the day, because I haven't written first person since I wrote Odd Habit, and that was like 2 years ago. So it'll be fun.
No, it's fun. I like to say, one of my sort of top 10 tips for Nano is to have fun, because that's part of the idea.
Do you often do that, where you write the story in 2 different points of view and see what's different?
No.
I think that would be a really fun exercise, to take a story,
actually, yes,
write it third point of view, write it present tense, write it first person, and see what the differences are.
Oh, that would be, because I quite like the idea of showing the same story from 2 different perspectives. So I like the idea. What was that? That book for book club I read. You know, where oh, crikey, where the first half was written from the playwright's perspective, and the second half was written from his
Fates and
wife.
Furious.
Fates and Furious, correct. And so I liked that. So I like that whole concept of seeing the same thing, you know, and as a reader, you come to a conclusion from reading the first bit, and then you read the second bit, and you think, oh, I was wrong. But
Yeah,
am I?
totally.
Yeah, so that's quite good fun. So yeah, that's a good idea for a short
I
story,
might.
isn't it? Sort of.
Now I'm like, maybe
That.
I should go back and finish the third person point of view version and see. Now that I know her better, maybe I could go back and write the third person point of view, and it would be better because I know her better. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can do.
Huh.
Yeah. It's worth a try.
Interesting thought.
Interesting thought.
Okay.
And it's all words for NaNoWriMo, so it doesn't really.
Yep, it's all words. This is the month
words.
of words. And on that note, we are at the 36-minute mark, so I'm going to go ahead and say la vie. I will be putting up 2 more episodes live this weekend. Wow. So that's the thing that's happening. Getting caught up slowly but surely. I'm trying to space them out like a couple days between, so it's not like all of a sudden 5 episodes at once because we were so behind. But I think like every couple of days seems to be working out okay. So
excellent. Yeah.
That will be happening too. It's been a very good month. Very productive so far.
That's great. We like that.
I can't wait to see what you do with that story.
Yeah. It's funny how this sort of image came into my head just from this prompt on the table, and this sort of little vignette came into my head, and then what do I do with it? And there's something there, but I will do something.
It can be the smallest things, you know. It really can be just the smallest thing, and you're like, oh, whole story in my head.
So I'll let it sit at the back.
Well, I want to thank you.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for being here, and I definitely miss Chrissy, although I don't miss her fire alarm. Hers is much louder than ours. That was impressive. I hope her house isn't on fire. I hope she's okay. So yes, everybody think good thoughts in her direction. Let's just hope somebody burnt toast. And I want to also thank all of our listeners. If you want more information on the Bradbury Challenge, to listen to all of our shows, if you would like to support us on Patreon so that we can hire an audio editor.
Yes.
So our shows will be on time. Please visit literaryroadhouse.com. Ciao.